Captain Mira Tejada of the human diplomatic vessel Audacity stood at the viewport, watching as the massive space station grew larger. The structure resembled a giant, crystalline snowflake, each arm housing representatives from a different galactic species. Humanity's first official summit with the Galactic Confederation was about to begin, and the weight of representing Earth pressed down on her shoulders like a neutron star. "Captain, Ambassador Chen is requesting your presence in the briefing room," chirped Lieutenant Rodriguez from his console. "Says it's urgent." Tejada sighed. "With Ambassador Chen, everything was urgent. Tell him I'll be right there." She found Chen pacing the briefing room, flipping through holographic images on his tablet. Pictures of his family back on Earth, his house, his garden, and his 3 cats. "Captain, perfect timing. I need your input on which personal touches to include in my introduction." Chen swiped through more images. "I want to show the Confederation that humans are relatable, you know, family-oriented, compassionate." Tejada nodded, peering at an image of one of Chen's cats, a Maine Coon named Mr. Whiskers, displaying an impressive set of teeth mid-yawn. "Sir, are you sure the images of your pets are appropriate? We don't know how other species might interpret them." Chen laughed. "Captain, everyone loves cats. They're universal. What says peaceful intentions better than showing we share our homes with smaller, weaker creatures? Besides, Mr. Whiskers is adorable." Tejada studied the image of the 18-pound, razor-clawed predator sprawled across Chen's keyboard and felt a twinge of unease. The briefing materials on the Confederation species mentioned that most were herbivores or filter feeders. None were apex predators like humans. "If you say so, sir." She cleared her throat. "The docking procedure begins in 30 minutes. I suggest we review the formal greeting protocols one more time." As they prepared for humanity's grand entrance onto the galactic stage, neither of them realized that Chen's beloved pets would soon cause an interstellar incident of catastrophic proportions. The grand convocation chamber of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with anticipation. Hundreds of delegates from across the known universe had gathered to welcome the newest potential member species, humans from the planet Earth. Ambassador Chen stepped onto the speaking platform, beaming with pride. Captain Tejada and her security detail stood at attention behind him. "Distinguished delegates of the Galactic Confederation," Chen began, his voice echoing through the chamber. "On behalf of humanity, I bring greetings of peace and friendship. We are honored to join this esteemed community of sentient beings." The chamber hummed with translation devices as Chen's words were conveyed to each species in their native language. "So far, so good. To help you understand humanity better, I'd like to share some images of Earth and our daily lives," Chen continued, activating his holographic display. The first images, Earth's landscapes, cities, and various human cultural celebrations, were met with polite clicks, hums, and glowing appendages, the alien equivalent of applause. Then came the photos of Chen's family home. "And these," he said proudly, "are my beloved companions." The holographic display showed a high-definition image of Mr. Whiskers, stretched out in a sunbeam, massive paws extended to show curved claws, sharp teeth visible in a lazy yawn. The reaction was immediate and horrifying. A collective shriek erupted from the chamber. Delegates scrambled backward, knocking over chairs and ceremonial objects. Some species simply fainted, their bodies collapsing like deflated balloons. Others extended defense mechanisms, spines, toxic secretions, emergency exoskeletons. "What the actual hell?" Tejada muttered, her hand instinctively moving to her sidearm. Chen froze, the smile plastered on his face flickering as he tried to comprehend the chaos. I don't understand," he stammered, then foolishly advanced to the next slide, his other cat, Mittens, playfully pouncing on a toy mouse. This triggered another wave of panic. A gelatinous delegate in the front row literally liquefied in terror, flowing under its seat. From the central platform, a tall, spindly alien with iridescent scales and multiple eye stalks rose to its full 3-meter height. Admiral Kezen Thar, head of Confederation security, signaled for emergency containment protocols. "Secure the human delegates." Kezen Thar's translator boomed. They've brought images of death dealers into the sacred chamber. These humans must be psychopaths of the highest order. Security drones descended from the ceiling, creating a barrier between the human delegation and the rest of the chamber. "Ambassador," Captain Tejada hissed, "turn off that damn display." Chen fumbled with the controls, accidentally advancing to a video of his golden retriever puppy, Buddy, enthusiastically licking his face. A new wave of horror swept through the alien delegates. A mushroom-like being near the back began releasing emergency spores, causing several nearby delegates to start hallucinating. "These humans," Admiral Kazan Thar declared, eye stalks quivering in disgust, "celebrate their relationship with apex predators. They allow Deathbringers to violate their facial orifices. What manner of depraved species have we invited into our peaceful community?" Chen finally managed to shut down the display, but the damage was done. He turned to Tejada, face pale with confusion. "Captain, I don't understand. They're just pictures of my pets." Tejada closed her eyes briefly. "Sir, I believe we've just discovered our first major cultural difference." In the hastily arranged emergency conference room, Captain Tejada and Ambassador Chen sat across from Admiral Kazan, Thar and a panel of Confederation scientists, all maintaining what they clearly considered a safe distance. "Let me get this straight," Tejada said slowly. "You think our cats and dogs are dangerous monsters?" Kazan Thar's eye stalks swiveled independently, one focusing on Tejada while the others scanned for potential threats. "They are clearly apex predators. Those razor appendages, the bone-crushing jaw structures, the predatory eyes, and you willingly cohabitate with these death dealers." Chen laughed nervously. "They're domesticated animals, harmless pets. Mr. Whiskers might look intimidating, but he spends 18 hours a day sleeping and the rest begging for treats." The panel of scientists exchanged alarmed glances. One of them, a small avian being with feathers that changed color with its emotional state, currently a nauseating shade of green, consulted a data pad. "The human claims the death dealer sleeps in its dwelling," the scientist announced, feathers pulsating, "and it gives the creature treats, as in rewards." "Of course," Chen replied, growing frustrated. "Humans have kept cats and dogs as companions for thousands of years. They're members of our families." The scientists began frantically inputting data, while security personnel quietly initiated what appeared to be evacuation protocols. Tejada noticed the flashing lights. "Are you preparing emergency measures because of our pets?" Kazan Thar's scales rippled in what might have been embarrassment, a fairly standard procedure when encountering a potentially dangerous species. "You must understand, in the Confederation, no sentient species has ever evolved alongside predators without being eliminated or subjugated." At that moment, the door slid open, and Dr. Elliot Hammond, the expedition's xenobiologist, burst in. He was a brilliant scientist but possessed all the diplomatic finesse of a sledgehammer. "Captain, Ambassador, I've discovered something fascinating," Hammond exclaimed, completely oblivious to the tension in the room. "The Confederation species evolved in environments with minimal predatory pressure. Their biochemistry suggests they'd be particularly vulnerable to Earth's fauna. Even a common house cat could." "Doctor," Tejada snapped, but it was too late. Hammond had already activated his own holographic display, showing detailed anatomical comparisons between Earth predators and Confederation species. "Look at this. A typical house cat could theoretically eviscerate 17 different Confederation species, and a standard Earth canine the bite force alone could." The avian scientist fainted, its feathers turning pitch black before it hit the floor. Kazan Thar's translator emitted a high-pitched whine as it struggled to interpret the sounds emanating from the Admiral's communication orifice. Chen buried his face in his hands. "We're trying to explain that our pets are harmless, Doctor." Hammond looked confused. "But they're not harmless. That's the fascinating part. Humans have co-evolved with predators, developing a symbiotic relationship with creatures that would be apex threats on any Confederation world. It's extraordinary." Tejada watched in dismay as security personnel began distributing what appeared to be protective gear to everyone in the room, except the humans. Perhaps, she suggested carefully, we should see what the Confederation considers appropriate companion animals. An hour later, the human delegation stood in the Confederation's xenobiology exhibition hall, staring in bewilderment at what were supposedly the galaxy's most beloved pets. "That's a microbe," Hammond said, adjusting his glasses as he peered into an illuminated containment sphere. "You keep single-celled organisms as pets." The Confederation's chief xenobiologist, a gelatinous entity named Dr. Blubbo, pulsated with pride. "This is a Jovian twinkler, one of the most cherished companion microbes in the mid-rim sectors. Observe how it emits bioluminescence when stimulated by gentle sound waves." Dr. Blubbo hummed softly, and the microscopic organism glowed faintly. "Amazing," Chen said with forced enthusiasm. Tejada studied the display cases around them. Each contained increasingly underwhelming creatures, microscopic plankton, tiny phosphorescent algae, minuscule floating jellies. Nothing with teeth, claws, scales, or even the ability to acknowledge its owner's existence. "And these are affectionate?" Tejada asked tentatively. Dr. Blubbo's translator emitted what might have been a chuckle. "Of course not, Captain. That would be terrifying. The perfect pet is one that exists harmoniously without interaction. The very concept of a pet that demands attention is horrifying to most Confederation species." Hammond was scribbling notes frantically. "Fascinating. Their whole concept of companionship is based on passive observation rather than interaction." Chen rubbed his temples. "So when I showed them Mr. Whiskers—" "You showed them a creature straight from their collective nightmares," Tejada finished, the pieces finally clicking into place. "To them, it would be like us keeping a velociraptor in our living room." "Precisely," Hammond exclaimed, too loudly. "Most Confederation species evolved from prey animals or filter feeders. Their survival depended on avoiding creatures like cats and dogs. It's a miracle they developed space travel at all, given their natural caution." Dr. Blubbo pulsated nervously. "If I may ask, these cats and dogs, do you truly allow them unrestricted access to your dwellings, even while you sleep?" Chen nodded. "Of course. Mr. Whiskers sleeps on my chest most nights." The translation device couldn't quite capture Dr. Blubbo's response, but the way the xenobiologist's gelatinous body temporarily lost cohesion spoke volumes. "You permit a razor-clawed death dealer to rest upon your vital organs during your most vulnerable state." Admiral Kezain Thar had entered the exhibition hall and caught the last part of the conversation. "They're not dangerous to us," Tejada tried to explain. "Human physiology is resilient. What the captain means," Hammond interrupted excitedly, "is that humans co-evolved with predators. We developed thicker skin, faster healing, better immune responses. What's deadly to Confederation species is merely an inconvenience to humans." A cat scratch that would disembowel Dr. Blubbo would barely break human skin. The silence that followed was deafening. "Perhaps," Tejada said carefully, "we should have started with cultural exchange rather than personal photos." Admiral Kezain Thar's eye stalks were now fully extended in alarm. "I must inform the High Council immediately. The implications for galactic security are significant." As the Admiral hurried away, Tejada exchanged worried glances with Chen. "I think we may have just become the scary aliens," she murmured. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Within hours, the Confederation news networks were broadcasting emergency alerts about the predator-loving humans and their death-dealer companions. Security around the human vessel had tripled, and most diplomatic meetings had been indefinitely postponed. In the Audacity's conference room, Captain Tejada faced her worried crew. "So, to summarize," she said, pacing the length of the table, because Ambassador Chen showed pictures of his cats. "Half the galaxy now believes we're psychopathic predator worshippers who might unleash Earth's fauna on unsuspecting worlds." Chen looked miserable. "I never thought Mr. Whiskers would cause an interstellar incident." "It's not just about the cats anymore," Hammond explained, displaying a holographic newsfeed. Look at these headlines: humans, the apex predators of the galaxy. Earth, planet of nightmares? They've gone from being afraid of our pets to being afraid of us. Lieutenant Rodriguez raised his hand. Can't we just not bring pets to space? It's too late for that, Tejada replied. They've researched Earth's ecosystem now. They know our planet is crawling with what they consider monsters. Bears, wolves, sharks, eagles, creatures they can't even comprehend coexisting with a sentient species. And then there's the human factor, Hammond added. When I explained that cat scratches don't hurt us much, I inadvertently revealed that humans have pain tolerance and physical resilience far beyond Confederation norms. To them, we might as well be Terminators. The tension in the room was palpable. Humanity's first contact with the galactic community was spiraling into disaster, all because of a fundamental difference in evolutionary paths. Captain Tejada? The ship's AI interrupted. Admiral Kazane Thar is requesting permission to come aboard with a scientific delegation. They claim it's urgent. Tejada exchanged glances with Chen. Granted. Have them meet us in the main conference room. When Admiral Kazane Thar arrived, the alien was accompanied by a small purple-skinned being with enormous, compound eyes and delicate, translucent wings. Despite the obvious physical fragility of this new alien, there was an air of quiet confidence about them. Captain Tejada, this is Volks, Kazane Thar announced, our leading xenobiologist specializing in evolutionary divergence. They have a theory about humans that the Council believes warrants investigation. Volk stepped forward, compound eyes reflecting the conference room lights like a living kaleidoscope. Captain, I believe I understand what's happening here. Volk's voice was surprisingly deep for such a small being. Your species represents an evolutionary path no Confederation member has ever encountered successful coevolution with predators. Tejada nodded cautiously. That's correct. May I? Volks gestured to the ship's holographic system. When Tejada nodded, Volks uploaded a series of images, ecological comparisons between Earth and various Confederation homeworlds. The differences were stark. While Confederation worlds showed peaceful, balanced ecosystems with minimal predator presence, Earth was a chaotic battleground of evolutionary arms races. You see, Volks explained, most sentient species in the Confederation evolved through cooperation, not competition. Our ancestors survived by avoiding danger, not confronting it. But humans. Volks's wings fluttered with what might have been excitement. Humans evolved by surviving alongside apex predators, eventually becoming apex predators themselves. Hammond nodded enthusiastically. Precisely, humans are persistence hunters. We literally chased prey until they collapsed from exhaustion. Kazane Thar's eye stalks recoiled in horror. Not helping, Doctor, Tejada muttered. Volks, however, seemed fascinated rather than terrified. This explains everything: your physical resilience, your comfort with creatures we find terrifying, even your approach to diplomacy, your direct, assertive predator traits, yet you've channeled these traits into civilization, art, exploration. It's remarkable. For the first time since the disaster began, Tejada felt a glimmer of hope. So you understand we're not a threat? Volks's compound eyes fixed on her. I understand you're the most dangerous species we've ever encountered and, paradoxically, potentially the most valuable ally. The question is, how do we convince the rest of the Confederation? 2 days later, the Grand Convocation Chamber was once again filled with delegates, though this time behind protective barriers. Captain Tejada stood at the podium, feeling like a specimen under a microscope. Distinguished delegates, she began, I understand our introduction has been unsettling. But Scientist Volks has prepared a presentation that may help clarify humanity's unique perspective. Volks fluttered to the center of the chamber, wings catching the light. Esteemed colleagues, Volks began. What we've witnessed is not a diplomatic incident, but a profound evolutionary divergence. Humans did not just evolve alongside predators, they evolved as predators, while simultaneously developing empathy, cooperation, and restraint. The holographic display activated, showing human evolutionary history from tree-dwelling primates to savanna hunters to civilization builders. Humans domesticated predators not because they're psychopaths, Volks continued, but because they recognized kindred spirits. They saw creatures with loyalty, intelligence, and social structures similar to their own. What we perceive as terrifying, they perceive as cute. A murmur ran through the chamber at the untranslatable concept of cute. But here's what's truly fascinating, Volk said, wings vibrating with excitement. Humans have channeled their predatory instincts into protection, not aggression. They form deep bonds with creatures that could harm them, and in return, these creatures become protectors, companions, family. The display showed images of service dogs helping disabled humans, rescue cats providing comfort to the elderly, therapy animals in hospitals. By our standards, humans are monsters, Volk said bluntly. Their pain tolerance, physical resilience, and comfort with danger would make them apex predators on any Confederation world. The chamber went silent. But they've used these traits to explore, to discover, to protect. They venture into danger willingly to save others. They risk themselves for ideals. They've transformed predatory instincts into something new, courage. Slowly, the fearful tension in the room began to shift towards something like cautious fascination. Admiral Chen Thar stepped forward, eye stalks extended toward the human delegation. Captain Tegyada, I must ask directly, does humanity pose a threat to the Confederation? Tegyada considered her words carefully. Admiral, humanity's history contains both great violence and great compassion. We've fought terrible wars, but also built hospitals in disaster zones. We can be dangerous, I won't deny that. But we direct that potential toward protection, not conquest. A small, brave delegate from the front row floated forward, a luminescent jellyfish-like being. These cats and dogs you cherish, they would consider my species prey, correct? Technically, yes, Tegyada admitted. Yet you would prevent them from harming me. Praise, of course. Without hesitation, the jellyfish pulsed contemplatively. How fascinating. You love creatures that could destroy me, yet you would protect me from them and expect nothing in return. That's actually a perfect summary of humanity, Chen murmured. Volks's wings fluttered with excitement. You see? Humans don't just keep predators as pets, they've become the galaxy's apex protectors. They're terrifying and nurturing simultaneously. Gradually, the atmosphere in the chamber transformed. Fear gave way to curiosity. Horror morphed into fascination. By the session's end, several brave delegates had even requested to view images of Earth's fauna under controlled conditions. As they left the chamber, Admiral Chen Thar approached Tegyada. Your species will require special protocols, Captain. You understand this? Of course, Admiral. And yet, Chen Thar's eye stalks curved in what might have been the alien equivalent of a smile. I find myself strangely reassured knowing humanity might stand with us against the universe's dangers. Tegyada raised an eyebrow. Admiral, are you saying you find humans comforting? Terrifying, Chen Thar corrected, but in an oddly adorable way. As they walked away, Tegyada couldn't help but smile. It seemed that humans weren't the only ones who could find dangerous creatures cute after all. Back on the Audacity, Chen was already composing his report to Earth. How do I explain that we're now classified as adorably terrifying apex protectors? He wondered aloud. Just tell them the truth, Tegyada replied, looking out at the stars. The galaxy thinks we're monsters who love monsters, and they're starting to love us for it. Chen nodded thoughtfully. Humanity, fuck yeah? Humanity, fuck yeah, Tegyada agreed with a grin.